Okay, guys, trying this one again, and hopefully we can do this without getting some echo feedback. I'm not a sound engineer, so I have no idea why it's happening. I don't even have anything else opening. But yeah, I'm going to be joined by Greg Fern from Project Fit, and just to bring another coach into, he's part of my kind of circle, my network. I've known Greg now through another coach that we've worked with. You're getting an era. Let's see if I can. Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm adding Greg onto this now. So Greg's going to join in, and we're going to get chatting then as soon as he is in here, and we can get talking and see if we can get the sound quality working, and hopefully not getting any feedback and echo with people. So fortunately you did it. How's that? How you doing, Greg? I can see you. Can you hear? Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. There you go.
No sound and no feedback coming through then, no echo. Perfect. Ah, fantastic. Love it. Because I did a Facebook Live last night, and yeah, and we just had it echo the whole way through it. We tried it with headphones, and we couldn't get rid of it. So that's cool. That's cool. Okay. So fantastic. So I was just doing a little intro whilst I was waiting for you to join there, Greg, and I'll throw it over to you to kind of introduce yourself. So I'd just like to do, as much as we do Facebook Lives, and we want to kind of give out some value out to the people that may be watching this, and sharing just our knowledge and what we know and how we can help people as well. And it is good to bring other coaches as well into these as well, just to give a different perspective. Everyone has their own take on different topics as well, and I think it's nice to just know that not everybody has their own, everybody has their own take on things, and just appeal to other people as well. So Greg, just to kind of give a little bit of a background really of what you do and how you've kind of ended up doing what you're doing as well. Far away.
That's a good question. So I guess
in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds. Okay, cool. All right. So when I was a bit smaller, I used to run around a lot. I used to play a lot of sport. I got fat. Then I tried a million fad diets. Decided to get a degree in sports science and a few nutrition qualifications on the way. Did my PT course, and now I run Project Fit, which is to help professional, busy women get in great shape without all the fad diets. So yeah, there we go. 30 seconds.
Yeah, awesome. Succinct. So yeah, so we do help similar, I work with women as well as yourself, and I suppose we probably come up a lot of the same sort of, obstacles, and a key thing is to help people kind of keep going on their journeys, keep reaching for their goals in spite of all the obstacles that they may come up against, and and that's really what I wanted to focus on, is just, where do you Hi Martin, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. Where do you start, or what's the kind of typical situation maybe that you would find people start to struggle or start to think things aren't working for them, or have you got maybe a story or something that comes to mind about that?
So I guess the biggest hurdle is in people's minds, right? I think we get told stories from when we're a kid, and we still get told stories as well, but we carry those stories from when we're younger. And those stories often for the women that I coach are, I'm not good enough, I shouldn't have time for myself, I'll never get to those goals. Because I think most of the ladies that I've helped and worked with, or work with now as well, have tried about 30 different diets to try and lose weight, and I'm sure that's the same for you. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the biggest ones is that fear of failure, and having failed before, like, why should it be different now? I think that's probably the biggest issue that I find. And I guess my take on it is I hope you don't mind me swearing. just to JFDI, okay, and that just means just fucking do it. And I think you need to just take every day, every day is a step, rather than worrying about the goal so much. If you take the steps, the goal will come anyway. So I just try and get my clients to really focus on what can they do today that's going to make today awesome and move them in the right direction. If you can do that 80-90% of the time, you'll get there eventually.
Yeah. And do you find that maybe sometimes it's just overcomplicating what, in effect, it is a simple thing to do? It's practicalities are complex, yes, but do you think it's just overcomplication sometimes as well?
Oh wow, the overcomplicating one. So it's funny actually. I was in the park with a client earlier, and these two ladies were there, and they were doing the, you know, in the parks they've got all the machines now and stuff. And they said to me, "Oh, have you got a client?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "But would you give us some advice?" And I just said, "Yeah, the best advice is just do what you're doing now. Do something." Yeah. I think what's happened in the past is, in order to sell all of these programs, the fitness industry, the slimming industry has kind of made everything really complicated. So you seem to have to do, I don't know, 5 workouts a week. You've got to do fasting with keto, with weights, with burpees, and eat, I don't know, celery and kale every day. So of course that makes it really, really complex. But if you don't make it complex, then it's not sellable, right?
Yeah.
Which is really weird. And people feel like they need to conquer these really complex programs, but then inevitably what happens after 3 weeks, you fall off the wagon again.
Yeah.
So I'm all about simplicity and keeping it, hey, hit your nutrition, get some sleep, get active, and just look after you. And, you know, I think often though people need a coach to do the simple things. That sounds crazy, but if I take it back to when I used to do martial arts, my teacher used to make us do the same move over and over again. And I was paying him for that. But it's only when I did my gradings and I got my results that I realized what he was trying to do. He was just trying to keep us consistent. And that's all he was trying to do. And I think that's the value of having a good coach or teacher or mentor, to help people get results. Because that's the big problem. People get confused. So one of the things I tell my clients is, first of all, if you're going to work with me, then just stop watching all the silly videos on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Like, just concentrate on my boring, monotone direction, and you'll get there. But what often happens is people get magpie syndrome, don't they? So they start with you, and then before you know it, they're like, "Oh, but Gillian, I saw this program in the Daily Mail, and it says I've got to do this and this and this," and you're like, "You're getting results, right? Yeah. So why do you need that?"
Yeah.
And that's basically what I try to convey to people is just stay in that kind of 80-90%. You don't have to be 100% ever, but the basics work every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. And I think it is that it's the just wanting, sometimes you get caught up in wanting things to happen really quickly, and it's just sometimes maybe because it is a bit, it's dull sometimes, you know, because of the repetition, and you know, it is doing that time and time again that you're trying to kick up some excitement again, isn't it? Sometimes.
Well, I guess a way to help people with that is, isn't going to work boring?
Yeah.
But you do it every day, right?
Yeah.
Brushing your teeth is not exactly the most exciting thing in the world, but you do it daily. So why should health be different?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I try and get people to understand is, I'm trying to get them into habits that they can do for the rest of their life, not just for 6 weeks or 7 weeks. But you're right, people get bored. They want something new, shiny, and exciting. They want to do burpees with battle ropes flying in the air like they see on Instagram. It's funny, me and Richard Angel were talking about this yesterday on my podcast, which I'll have to get you on, by the way.
Cool. Oh, you've said it out here now, so
we were
there
talking. There you go. Yeah, it's booked in now. We'll arrange it afterwards.
Yeah.
But me and Richard Angel were talking about exactly the same thing, that people love the entertainment, but there's a big difference between entertainment, information, and implementation. And I think that's what you do with your clients, is get them to implement, not drown them in information.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I give my clients the bare basics of information. I try not to give them too much because they'll just get confused.
And partly because they know they have all the information. They've read every book or website, blog, watched every video, you know. That's not where and there isn't anything else that they can learn and read. It's just actually doing it. It's doing it. It's the action, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And doing it is where the results happen, right?
Yeah.
I liken it to university. So university, in every subject, I reckon you can find the information for that subject on a website somewhere. But you pay to go to university to get a lecture, to get the support, to check your progress, i.e. doing your exams and tests and all that stuff. And that's why you do it. It's not because the information's there. You're paying for the implementation of that information, not just information for information's sake.
Yeah.
So I think I've got a reputation for upsetting people often. And only because I try and make things really simple. So if we want to talk about diets and stuff, I'm very plain and blunt about the fact that most diets are literally just a calorie deficit.
And that's how they all work,
but people don't like that because we get emotionally attached to the product. But I'm just about no fluff and no science. Like this is it. That's it. And they're like, look at me expecting some magical answer. I'm like, no, that's it.
Yeah.
So I think that's another big hurdle, is that whole overcomplication of wanting the results to happen fast.
Yeah. And I think as well, like I'm just thinking, you know, I've got coming to the last 2 weeks of, like, I've been trialing a group program with a few ladies and coming to the end of that, and it's kind of like I don't need to do them, you know. I'm like going, I'm here to help you, but I know yous are good because they've been doing it for the last 10 weeks, you know. So they're like at this point now where they're like, just keep doing what you're doing for the last 2 weeks and yous are good, you know. And that's it. It's like they've all found their way now. So, and it's getting to that point, isn't it? It's getting to that point where you're going, this is what it.
But that's what you've done. You, as a coach, you've helped them get to find a groove which they would have spent months and years trying to find. So, ladies and gents watching this is why you should invest in Gillian as a coach, because she'll get you to do the stuff that you keep putting off that actually saves you time over the long run.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And it's funny, I've done a group program just recently, and I did 8 weeks with them. And my interaction in the group got less and less and less because I knew they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
My bit was just to make sure they stuck to what they said. And that's the value of what we do.
Keep showing up. Yeah. Just to keep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Have those checks for them. So whenever like someone does and someone's on that verge, you can kind of get a sense or get a feeling that their activity is backed off and they're like, oh, you're starting to think this person is about to stop here, about to give up. What sort of, how would you approach it with them, and what sort of advice would you give them to kind of pick up, you know, the momentum starting to slow down, and what sort of advice do you think you would give them, or how would you get them back on track, if you like?
So I think that's a big one. I think we often see it because we work with a lot of online clients. What happens is that their interaction with you goes down. So first of all, I bug the hell out of them in terms of, are you okay? What's going on? Because I care about my clients. Number two, though, I explain to them that progress is never a straight line down, and life is going to happen. But if you can stick to the bare minimum, you'll be okay. And generally, then I find that it lasts, 1 to 2 weeks, and then they come back out the other side. And there's other things you do. You maybe say to them, well, let's reduce your training load. Let's just focus on one thing this week rather than 3 or 4 things. So if you can do this bare minimum, that will keep you going. Because I think often the goal is actually maintenance of results is actually harder than getting the results sometimes. Because if you look back at most people's weight history, it's gone up and down like a yo-yo. But actually, I say to them, maintenance is actually pretty impressive because most people can't maintain their weight.
Yeah.
So actually, well, why don't we just go for a 3-4 week maintenance phase now?
Mm-hmm.
Simple.
Yeah.
Again, simple stuff. And also get them to reflect, because people don't look at things like their pictures. They don't look at stats. So everything's made on emotion, not on data.
Yeah.
So we work with busy professionals who deal with data all the time, but when it comes to themselves, they get really emotional. So I'm like, okay, well, let's just look at what you've done over the last 6 weeks, a year, whatever that time span is. Look how different you look. How much energy do you have? You know, is your partner now all over you now again, and you two going for walks hand in hand, or you before you weren't doing all that stuff? And that stuff is actually massively important, and that's all data.
Yeah.
That people need to consider.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that I would do. What about yourself?
Yeah, so I tend to like get them to focus on more performance, or look at like that, the non-scale victories, things that they notice in their life that they're starting to feel differently, or starting to even just change attitudes in some way. Things that you can't really, and get them to list that. That's their facts, that's their data, if you like. Because if you don't actually acknowledge those things, you can forget them very quickly. And it's just realizing that impact beyond that. But as well as that, like you said, it's always going back to what's the kind of minimum. So I think a lot of time people think if they're not doing 100%, then they think that this isn't going to work. But like you say, always go back to I always look at what's easy for them, what's easy that they can do without almost thinking. Do that there, because at least they're still achieving something. And I goes, that could be a good 30-40% of what we're trying to achieve for you. And then if you've got the energy, the time, whatever it is that's going on in their life at that time, to put other stuff in there as well. And it's like you said, it's at least moving around, or maybe if you can't do 10,000 steps a day, at least do 6. At least it's something. Something's always better than nothing, as I say. And that's where we look at. So what's the easy wins, if you like? What feels good and what feels easy for them?
Yeah, exactly. Because they've got a lot of stress on their lives already, as it were. And I think you're right. To keep them winning, I think that's our job, is to keep them winning. So even when they feel that they're losing, our job is to keep them winning at something, because then they're always moving forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm finding, I guess, the biggest one, and I don't know if you've conquered it, is sleep. So I think this is one of the massive hurdles to people getting the results that they want. So I'm really banging onto my lot about sleep at the minute, and also for myself, I've struggled recently with it.
Yeah.
Too many episodes of Supernatural on Amazon. Whoops. So now I actually schedule my time to watch the TV.
Right.
Which is, people are like, what? You're weird. But I guess it's coming from the angle of, if you're doing what you're doing now and it's not working, then you have to do the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
I'm a big fan of the sleep as well. I just don't even TV. I'm not really that interested really that much. Sometimes I'll get into it, but yeah, I don't invest that much in TV, to be honest. So if there's something on, I've got a bit of time, yeah, I'll watch it, but I can take it or leave it really. So
but I think it's a bit of a paradox, right? Because people use TV to de-stress.
Yeah.
But actually, the best way to de-stress is actually to go sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, Greg, I need my wind down time. Okay, you know that kind of your stress and your mental health kind of gets recovered during sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I need some actor or actress to make me feel better. Okay. And then they wonder why they can't get up for a morning workout or get up the next day feeling crap.
Yeah.
And it all starts with going to sleep. So that's probably one of the biggest hurdle to try and really get the habit of, is getting to sleep.
But Love Island's on.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because that's a cultural thing though, isn't it? So you know that if you don't watch it tonight, you're going to go to work tomorrow and be the weird one who hasn't watched it. And I think that's the big challenge, is the social environment that we have now. People don't want to feel weird,
Yeah.
so they'd rather stay up late and watch Love Island and be able to discuss it rather than going to work going, do you know what, I feel amazing, and I'm not going to eat all the flapjacks that Rita the feeder brings to the office.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be able to hit my goals, but they'd rather go to work tired but be able to discuss Love Island because that fear of missing out. It's
Yeah,
FOMO.
FOMO, yeah, totally, totally. So,
That's big as well.
yeah, absolutely. We're digressing here big time. See, you open the sleep can of worms there. It's like, yeah.
But I think you and Georgina mentioned it yesterday when I caught up on the on your live yesterday.
Yeah.
She was talking about sleep, and it's probably the biggest hurdle that most people have but don't realize.
And I think as well, it's because it just doesn't equate quickly to the rewards that you want. You know, there's no direct, if I do this, then I get this straight away, you know, because it's just something that we have to do. But I think there's not enough emphasis put on how much it's actually needed, and yeah. And I'm still just getting to the end of the Matthew Walker book, and it's just like, even he's going into education, he's going into everything, you know, it's just unbelievable.
It's crazy, right?
The data is there to prove how much it has an impact. Yeah.
And it's always funny when my clients come back to me and go, Greg, I feel amazing. I'm like, what happened? Oh, I went to sleep. I'm like, brilliant. So do you want to feel like this 90% of the time, or would you want to feel like it 10% of the time? What would you rather?
Yeah.
So it's a big battle. But then I think it's that, like you talked about, it's the delayed reward.
Yeah.
So exercise, because you sweat and you get sore, it feels like you're doing something.
Yeah.
Whereas going to bed feels like, I should be doing something more. Or,
Yeah.
and that's probably a big one for you, for your clients and my clients as well, is that a never-ending list of tasks that they make for themselves to make sure that they feel busy, to hit some standard of being the perfect woman. Oh, I've got to make sure I've done all of these chores before I go to bed. Well, the chores are going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the next day. And you've got kids and you've got a husband and whatever, and they also eat from the same plates that you have to wash up, so why can't they do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But we want to take on more, and then wonder why we feel so whacked.
Absolutely.
What?
Absolutely. Just that busyness is like yeah. Enjoy that kind of busyness feeling. There's a significance, I think, sometimes it's attached to it. But...
yeah, it makes you feel like you're not lazy. So the world is now about hustle and hustle and hustle. But actually, we probably need more stillness and calm in most of our lives in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But that doesn't feel like you're doing something.
Cool.
Which is the big challenge.
Yeah, definitely. So just to kind of wrap up then, I'd just leave kind of 3 takeaways really for anyone that may be watching this or catching us on replay. If you're catching it on replay, do hit a little replay as well. It'd be good to see if any questions do come up. But just 3 things, you know, if you do find you're stumbling, just to summarize really, where would you start then if you find yourself you're just starting to lose that momentum and you're about to give up and you're thinking nothing's happening, nothing's changing for you? What would you say then? 3 things, Greg, for anyone.
Number 1, remember your why. So remember why you wanted to change in the first place. What was it going to bring to your life, and what has it brought to your life as well up to this point? Number 2, speak to your coach and go, I need help, I'm struggling. Don't suffer in silence. Don't suffer in silence. And sometimes just get a bit of JFDI. Just sometimes you have to just say, do you know what? I'm going to go and sit in the gym. So I've done that before. I go and sit in the gym. I don't feel like training. And I'll just watch people. And I'll do a few squats. Then before I know it, I'm into a session. But sometimes you have to put yourself in a situation with intent to get the result. So, yeah. So I think those would be 3 tips I would take away. I mean, there's a million more. We could be here all day, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we should do this again, or maybe we'll do a vice yeah, because we could go on for that. But yeah, remember your why. Yeah, remember your why. Speak to your coach or get help and support.
Yeah.
And number 3, just JFDI sometimes.
Yeah, just get in there and do it. Cool. Well, thanks very much, Greg, for joining. It's been really good to have you on, and and do stick a link down below as well, just for people to, where people can get in touch with you as well if they want to find out more about what you're doing. So that's absolutely cool. All right. And
And
yeah.
I'll get you on my podcast as well. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
super, super. I know,
Yeah.
I think it would
All right. Let's get
digress
going
into
with
all
that.
sorts of areas, couldn't it? But yeah,
All right. We have to stay focused. Yeah. Like we want our clients to be. We have to stay focused. See,
absolutely.
people, even PTs get it. We all struggle with it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much and have a super day. And
Thank you.
I'll see you
All
all
right.
soon. Okay,
Talk soon.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.